folks? JD Wessel back here with another Wildcat breakdown. This, I think, will be the fourth or fifth one of the year that we've done so far. It is a beautiful Friday morning, a little chilly though outside, and I am joined by Jaden Cover and Andrew Pfeiffer. How you boys doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty good. Happy we got the break, but I'm just kind of ready to get done with this week.
Yeah, coming off winter break here, and now having a 3-day weekend feels kind of nice. So
Yeah, that's for sure. Gonna have Monday off for good old Martin Luther. But we do have basketball action this coming weekend, actually this Friday night, which me and Jaden will be covering. Andrew, I believe you will still be there.
absolutely.
And so, yeah, today our focus is going to be on the boys and girls basketball team. Pretty much just an overview on how the season is going, where they sit right now for records, and who their upcoming opponents are, and what their chances are maybe coming up to districts and a possible shot at state. So let's just hop right into it. First, we're going to start off with the girls basketball team. This season, they come in with a 3-7 record overall, and obviously it's been a tough one to watch if you are a Wildcats fan. And for us to have to call the games this year, it's obviously been tough for us to see what they're going through. Last season, they had great success. They had, a lot of great ball movement, and, they still keep that good ball movement, boys, but I think they've just kind of lost something with losing their big players. What do you guys think?
Absolutely. I'd have to second you on that as far as losing their big players go. With their star seniors out like Lauren Rongish and Courtney Merriweather, who had like a very high impact on that team as far as leadership and making those huge plays that they need to get those points. Both, devastating injuries, and that faces them with more of like a younger team, especially when most of their roster is made up of sophomores and juniors. I don't really think there's any more seniors that are out on the court at one time. That's just something that I think they've been struggling with all season, and something that's hard to build on. So I don't know if it's too late to categorize this year as a building year, but especially faced with a young team like this, that's kind of what the direction is heading towards, especially when you're sitting at 3-7 and not doing any better than you planned.
Yeah, that's for sure. But guys, let's not take away the fact that just this last Tuesday they played Burke and they actually won in a 63-33 score, which we haven't really seen Millard West dominate a team yet this year, and Burke is definitely no team to mess around with. I mean, we definitely know that Burke is gonna have talent on that side, and for Millard West, they kind of just dominated on both sides of the ball, keeping them to only 33 points, but also having nearly their highest scoring performance of the year. And Millard West is on a 2-game winning streak, so let's see if this chemistry from these ladies is finally starting to come together for this team.
And I mean, not only is this a 2-game winning streak, JD, both of those last 2 games, they went from 1-7 to 3-7. Both of those past 2 games, they nearly doubled.
Well, they over doubled their previous win totals. I think the biggest problem right now for the girls' team is they're very reliant on 2 players to score. If Chase Fanstill and Taylor Farrell aren't scoring, then the team isn't going.
Yeah.
The third person on the roster that has the most points per game is Jenna Bohati with 6.2 points. So you've got 2 girls averaging over 12, and then there's this big drop off. So if Taylor Farrell or Chase Fanstill goes cold, the game isn't going well. And like we mentioned earlier, though, the good thing is they've doubled their win total. Or they've tripled their win total almost from 1 win to 3 wins. I think for tonight, I don't know who. So they're playing
Omaha North
girls.
Yep.
And, I'll try to see what their record is, but I think maybe this part of the schedule is being friendly to the Wildcats.
Looks like Omaha North is 4-5, so
facing a similar record. It should be a pretty good game.
Yeah, we could see definitely a good game, and I think, again, going back to the ball movement, I like to really hit on that for this girls basketball team because, even though they don't score as much points, they like moving the ball around, and they look for open shots. I think just what we've seen this year is this team is really struggling to find their pure shooters. they already know they have Taylor Farrell and Chase Fansteel, and I think it's just a matter of finding more shooters that can evolve and be able to take those shots. I think right now they're kind of struggling to find an identity for who's going to be shooting the ball in late situations. Obviously, you got, again, Chase Fansteel and Taylor Farrell, but if you can just get 2 or 3 more shooters, wink, wink, Courtney Merriweather and Lauren Rongish, who are out, and again, there's still really no timetable on when those two will be back. And actually, I've heard from both of them. I just talked to them just this last basketball game after the game, and they said, yeah, we might be back. We don't know. Like, they seriously have no idea if they will be back for their senior season. Let's just hope that, obviously, the Wildcats can maybe get them later in the season.
Well, both of these girls I know are planning on playing basketball beyond high school. They're starting up their college careers, and it's definitely, especially when you already have your future set up, it's not something you want to risk going into high school. I mean, sure, that you want to be passionate about your home school, playing for your team, but if it really means that much to their future, there's a very, very small chance we could see them on the court again. And unfortunately, that's just might be how it is. I mean, it's not like this is the first time this has ever happened in girls basketball history. It's just very unfortunate that Millard West's top 2 players happen to be sitting out for the rest of the season potentially.
Yeah, for sure. And Jaden, go ahead.
Well, both girls, I mean, we look at their track record on how they've had at Millard West. It's just been tough because you see both these girls, the potential is up here, but they've never been healthy enough to reach it.
Yeah.
They have, it's been to the ceiling what they can do, but.
And we've definitely seen it early on. I mean, we've seen it early on, but again, like you said, they've just been struck with so many injuries these past couple of years that, we may, again, like Andrew said, never get to see their full potential and what they can do on the court.
And it's hard to cover up those injuries with young talent. I mean, going into the game, trying to fulfill the roles of Courtney Merriweather and, is it Mayweather or Merriweather? Merriweather, okay. She's in my class, I should know this. Trying to fulfill those roles with Lauren Rongish and Courtney Merriweather, it's difficult, especially for those underclassmen, who most of them played like reserve last year, who were just sophomores in JV.
And that's kind of what you've seen from the Millard West girls is they've been kind of struck with having a couple key seniors leave each year, and then that's when the juniors step in, and the juniors have already been playing that role. So they step up to be seniors, and then they have the underclassmen who are still moving up as they're doing it. It's kind of just how Kruger's been struck with a lot of underclassmen talent, I guess you could say, or just not enough upperclassmen talent.
I remember the game I did earlier, or I forgot who they were playing, but so you had Courtney Merriweather and Lauren Rongish out. They were seniors. Nicole Ruby, also a senior, that she's kind of a 6 role player.
Yeah.
Also another person down the post that helps them out. She was hurt. Then Caitlin Osborne, the other senior, was hurt. So all 4 of their seniors were hurt. So you have to rely on Chase Fansteel, where she's only a junior, and there's a big difference between having been a junior as a leader and a senior. Just knowing that it's your last year, there's that extra drive. So they've had to rely on just the younger talent, and they're just not quite there yet.
Yep. And I think, if Kruger can push the underclassmen hard enough to understand what he wants done and that he wants all the players to shoot, I would imagine, he can maybe not rely on the players quite yet, but he can understand that these girls they're young talents, and he hasn't really seen all of what they have yet. So let's just hope. Right now the Wildcats are trying to figure things out, sitting again at a 3-7 record. Their up-and-coming matchup, Omaha North tonight, and then next Friday they take on the big, mighty Patriots, Millard South, a team that has lost only 1 game this season. I think that loss, I'm not really sure on the opponent, but it was in the Holiday Tournament, which would have put them into the finals. And for Millard South, this girls' basketball program is very dominant. They have a lot of depth. And, there's players on their team that are averaging nearly 15 to 20 points a game. I think 2 or 3 of the players are in the running for, just the top players in the state. I mean, they have just pure scorers, pure athletes out there on the court. And for Millard South, it's really going to be a tough matchup for the Wildcats. And if I had to be honest with you guys, I think Millard West, they're going to be going through some struggles these next couple weeks. We also have Elkhorn South in the up and coming weeks. So for Millard West, they're going to have to start clicking here if they want to, quite frankly, have any close matchups.
That's just something I hate to see. You're coming off 2 games. You have a 2-game win streak, and then you're getting into a tougher schedule. I mean, the win over Burke was pretty impressive. I mean, Burke isn't a terrible team, but then you have to go in and face, like you said, teams like Millard South and Elkhorn South, and that can just kill your momentum as a team.
And not saying Millard West can't be the team to do it.
Absolutely.
But really anyone can beat anyone in high school sports. But I think for Millard West right now, they definitely have some chemistry issues. Coming off this 2-game winning streak, I mean, you never know what we could see. They could potentially win tonight against Omaha North and come in with momentum against Millard South and possibly put up a fight. And again, it is at Millard West, so I guess we're going to have to see how that one goes.
One thing I do remember when I covered a girls basketball story earlier in the season, and this is when they were sitting at, I believe, like a 1-5 record, and I interviewed Taylor Farrell, and I asked her, what are your best aspects as a team? And she said when they get going, like, they're in the zone, and like she believes that once they're like on a roll, like they can't be stopped. Once somebody has the hot hand, that's when they really have the potential to score and put up those big points like they've done in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, and again, when they get hot, that team is good. And when they find those open shots, that's when they're the most deadliest. But right now, they're not finding those clear open shots. They run a nice offense. They usually do find the shots, but I think right now a lot of teams are catching on to their strategies. And, for Millard West, they kind of run it around the top of the key, try and find that 3-point. I mean, we've seen Taylor Farrell and Chase Fansteel both perfect the 3-point shot in these past couple of years. And I think teams right now, they've done well in their scouting report, and they're kind of just shutting down the offense right now, keeping the ball up top. Because, Millard West, they don't really have much of a threat down low just due to the young talents.
Well, you look down low, they have 2 sophomores there, Jenna Bohati and Ana Leo. And I'd say being for at least players in the post, it's a longer development.
Yeah.
Because you've got to learn how to use your size and get
especially going against the upperclassmen that they've been in that situation. They've took 100 more shots than you, and like you were saying,
they're stronger. They're just used to. So it's a lot of growing pains going on right now for the Wildcats, and hopefully they can get on a roll when it matters.
But let's be honest, right now, like you said, Andrew, it's more of a rebuilding year. Let's be honest here.
Well, I agree. Yes, it's not too late to label it as a building season, but that's definitely the direction that it's heading. I mean, when you go, when you're a fan of a basketball team or any team at all, if you're a fan of any team, you don't want to be like, oh, it's a building year. Like, you only want to look up from wherever you're at.
Yeah.
So, one thing I do believe that the Lady Cats should, one thing I believe they should focus on is coming onto the game, get their confidence up. First thing, start scoring. I think, start scoring as many times, or like, where am I going with this? I think they need to it just starts by getting their confidence up. And once they get their confidence up in the game, maybe they'll start taking, better shots. And then once those shots start going in, they can start rolling off there and start, putting up 60 points like they've done.
Yeah, for sure. And folks, I think that's all we're gonna have for girls basketball. Do you guys have anything else to add on to the season? Some of the players?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, and so again tonight, Millard West 3-7 playing against 4-5 Omaha North. That game will be at 5:30. You can catch Jaden Cover and Craig Sullivan on the call. So they'll have that game, and then right after that, that will be where we head over to the Millard West boys varsity basketball team. They are currently 4-6, so not much better. They've definitely had, again, their growing pains. They have quite a young team, but their starting 5 is consisting of all seniors, which some might look at that as, wow, these guys are going to have some building to do after this. But from what we've seen for the young talent, I would say Millard West, they definitely have a bright future. I mean, they have Peyton Busher, a pure point guard. I mean, he's a point guard / shooting guard. He has definitely shown that he can compete at one of the higher levels. He's been on the team for, I believe, just this season, maybe?
He was on the team last year.
Yeah, last year, too. And so, yeah, this Millard West team, they're coming into this game with a 4-6 record, and Omaha North is 1-9. So the Wildcats, you know what? They should be able to manage this one, but I guess you'll never know with the Wildcats. They definitely have their struggles again. So, boys, what is your first take on Millard West and what they've done this year?
Well, I'm going to start off with two positives. One's kind of a double-sided, but I think this is the best 4-6 team in the state. Looking up and down, they're playing. Yeah. They haven't been truly blown out. I guess you consider Creighton Prep 65-49, but that's 16 points, which I don't consider as a definitive blowout. They've been in every game, and I think when it comes down to it, they can compete with any team. It's just a matter of if they're scoring. That's been their biggest issue, but they've been playing some great defense this year. I'd say the double-sided one is they don't really have much production from the junior class. I think that's their biggest issue as a team. Off the top of my head, I can't really think of a junior that has too much production. I guess Harmdirks gets in the game at times, but you don't really see too much from him. They've only got 2 juniors on the roster. But if you look up, they have about 4 sophomores that are on their roster and a freshman. So it's not a rebuilding year, but I wouldn't say it's or it's not, they don't have building in the future to go. I'd say this is more of a building year than any other year, even though they are losing a lot of seniors.
Yeah, I would agree on that. Andrew?
Let's. I want to focus on this Evan Meyersick kid. He's a freshman. He's a forward, and he's 6'4". Let's talk about this kid. Where did he come from?
I think Evan, well, just from what I would assume is he's obviously played some select ball. You know, he comes straight into Millard West, makes an impact. He's been close to starting. Let's be honest. He's pretty much in the second rotation. He gets
sixth man for sure.
Yeah, he gets a lot of good minutes, and for this kid, really, all he can go is up. For Millard West, he's been producing points. He's been playing great defense. And, you know, he's just another one of those players that can cause trouble on both sides of the ball. And he's definitely made, again, a big impact for the Wildcats. Only being a freshman, this man can do a windmill dunk.
Yeah.
Would you guys believe it?
Yes. It's funny because Will Morris, someone near and dear to our heart, ran the sports department last year for us. He was telling me about this kid, telling me how there was this kid, that was, his brother would play him in basketball and everyone would get dunked on by him. I'm like, okay, well, it's just a middle schooler. How much of a difference can he make his first year? But he's made a difference. I mean, I'm not saying he's an elite scorer yet, but, I mean,
a year ago, he was in middle school.
Yeah, if he was playing in freshman games right now, he'd probably be 20, 25 points per game. Yeah. So the potential is very high for him, and a lot of the other sophomores too, like Busher. I mean, they've got a decent class going on.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's where you kind of get into, again, just look into the future. Not to have this season forgotten, but just to look into the future and think Millard West is getting a lot of good minutes out of these guys that they're playing this year. And just imagine the future with this young talent that they have. And really their roster, if you break it down, they do have a young roster. A lot of their backup guys are having good minutes, though, and they're definitely making an impact for the Cats.
But, go ahead, Andrew.
One thing that the Wildcats struggle with is height, surprisingly. I mean, a lot of these kids are...
Well, I mean, losing Colby Gomez, you're going to lose a lot of height there. He was a top 10 basketball player last season, and then...
They go with a smaller lineup, I'd say.
Yeah. And, I mean, you can't really control that. I mean, it's really just whoever wants to play for the ball club and whoever can SWAT guys and rebound, we'll take you.
One
But
thing I have noticed though is you consider it a disadvantage, which it is. I mean, height always matters
Yeah.
in basketball, but they're so quick when you watch them, especially, you look at probably the shortest player that gets significant minutes, Giovanni Guido,
Yep.
might be one of their best players as far as
oh yeah,
defensive.
one of the best athletes for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I'd put
he
him and
might-
Hunter Shirley right up there.
Oh yeah, I think he might lead the state in steals. At least
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Gio does.
And the thing with Gio, they could be losing by 20, and he'll still be straight on his guy, going for the steal. Always got his hand in his face, and you just gotta love the hard work by him. He's one of those athletes. You kind of got the feeling that he might not pursue basketball, but then
Mhm.
you knew him being a Guido, he's gonna stick with it as they always do. And I talked to his mom, and she said, yeah, he's playing basketball. He's set on finishing it out. He's not leaving early for anything. And so yeah, Gio, he's definitely one of the better players on the team, if not the best.
A kid like Gio, very dedicated to his athletics, and
Mhm.
it's only good to see players like that come through the school, and especially for them to work as hard as they do. I know Gio had a suspension earlier in the season. I
Yeah.
think it was for the season opener due to
Yeah.
missing a practice
Yep.
or something. But his
And that's not usually like him.
I mean, I think it was
He's usually one of the
he
guys
went
that's
to a
always there.
Nebraska game, so it wasn't like he was
Yeah.
doing something,
Well, what he had told me that day was that he was sick in the morning,
really.
but he never told Morrison.
Ah,
He just, and then when Morrison asked, he's like, "Yeah, I was sick." But then his mom said, "Yeah, no, he was just sick this morning." I don't know, something like that. He told me last semester, but
so really not that big of an
Yeah,
issue.
I mean,
nothing nothing.
he's
that's
still
gonna
our
affect
starting
the-
point guard. I mean,
And I don't think he lost any, respect from his
Yeah.
teammates because they know what he's about.
yeah.
Um,
But you know what I want to touch on? Going into this season, I heard a lot of chatter from guys about kind of just going into this season without Colby, and I know we kind of touched on it, but losing Colby, arguably probably the biggest loss for a team, just based off of a player not playing.
mhm.
And you know what? Colby's one of my dear friends, but if I had to say, you know what, I think that was a weak move by Colby. I mean, we've seen a lot of two-sport athletes. Colby, you can come back on me on this. I've been stressing it to him all year. But I think for Colby, he made a decision. I respect his decision, but in a different way. I mean, I feel like he could have came back for this last season. We've seen Drew Gillen, Kyle Perry, two of his teammates at Nebraska. They're coming to play another sport. And I don't know, I really think that if Colby was on this team this year, Millard West would be doing special things. I honestly think we might be undefeated.
Colby's not the only player to step away from
Yeah.
Midwest basketball, as well as Brody Bell.
And I mean, let's be honest, he has a chance to get drafted, so that's probably one of the bigger reasons why I respect his decision.
Colby.
Yeah.
I'd say for Colby, I understand. Brody's a little different because he has spring camp,
Yeah.
and so it just wouldn't make sense for
Mhm.
him. But for Colby, I mean, there's a lot of merit to what he did, but also I think there's a lot of merit to seeing it through with your team and
Yeah.
not looking ahead to the future. And I think when he gets older and he reflects back on it, unless he has a pure just hatred
Yeah.
for basketball or just really don't want to play this season, I think he's going to look back at this decision. And if things pan out great for baseball, he may never think about this.
Mhm.
Like, let's say he makes it to the major leagues, but I think as far as right now, he's going to look back on this and think, you know what, it might have been worth giving it a shot. I would have
Yeah.
liked to see what our team could have done.
And stepping away from any sport in that matter, it's not an easy thing to do. I
Mhm.
mean, I wrestled my freshman to junior year.
Yeah.
And for my own personal reasons, I had to step away my senior year, and it wasn't easy. And so, just kind of imagining what's going through Colby's head or Brody's head, I mean, it might be very hard for them, especially since they probably loved basketball, but felt like they had to make the right decision for them. It's just tough to see, but
Mhm.
they did it for a reason. It's not uncalled for, and it's the only reason they did it, so it would be beneficial for them. So hopefully everything works out for them in the future.
Well, and I think the kind of just the what point of view are you looking at it from? People quit sports all the time,
Yeah.
but it's just that
He was the best player.
Yeah, he was the best player for us.
Yeah.
I mean, he was ranked in the top 20 for recruiting,
Yep.
like for basketball players.
Mhm.
Everyone knew he wasn't going to go for basketball, but he was up there. So it's one thing to see someone quit. I mean, I've quit sports before. I quit baseball after my freshman year, but you don't see anyone knocking down my door
Yeah.
trying to get me to play again.
Mhm.
But when you're that caliber of player and you
Yeah.
make that different on the varsity team, that's when people are really like, wait, why are you quitting? You were good at the
Yeah.
sport. But, I mean, a lot of people do it. I just don't know if it was the right move
Yeah.
for
I
everyone.
mean, when I talked to him about it, I know I was really stressing that he should play. And that's just me being a Wildcat fan. I mean, I knew something would be special with this season if he played. We'd have 5 seniors, one coming off the bench. I mean, really just a season you could ask for is finishing it off with the boys that you've been playing with ever since you were a freshman, probably into middle school. I mean, but he made his decision. I talked to him about it, and he sounded pretty destined on hanging up the shoes and just sticking to baseball. Which you know what, he did what he did, and we're just gonna move past that. I mean,
wish him best of luck
yeah,
in baseball.
yeah, really all you can do. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys, just to get off the sore topic for some, what are your guys' thoughts on how the season has been going, just as a whole for the Wildcats? Do you guys have really any input on what you've seen? I mean, you guys have been commentating most of the games of the season. I mean, what are your thoughts on, what they could improve on? I mean, I know we're no head coach or anything, but
it is a little surprising to see them at 4-6, especially with the season that they could have potentially had. I remember when they beat Omaha South, and I was like, wow, this team really does have potential this year.
Mhm.
But I wouldn't necessarily say it went downhill from there. It just kind of evened out. The record's looking like a 500 record almost, and it's
Mhm.
surprising that that they performed like this. And I only wish the best for them as they continue to head on into the postseason. But there's not much you can do as far as looking back, but only to move forward and hopefully get their 5th win here tonight, maybe or in a couple nights.
I'd say the biggest thing for this team is finishing. I don't think there's been a game this year where going into the 4th quarter they weren't right there in the mix.
Mhm.
They just haven't been able to close out late against teams.
And that's really always been Millard West's problem is.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think the way they run their offense, me personally, just watching the games, it almost looks like the players are restricted to shoot. Just from what I see is these players, they try and move the ball around a little too much.
Mm-hmm.
And what the everlasting problem for Millard West has been just these past few years I've watched them is oftentimes when they run the offense, they do trying to find open shot opportunities that kind of, holds players back from shooting and just taking shots. I mean, we see teams like Creighton Prep, Millard South, those teams take shots. And they have players that aren't afraid to take shots. And even when they're running an offense, they still, when they think they have an open opportunity or maybe a mismatch or something, those are teams that take shots. Those are teams that step up in big moments. In Millard South, again, another team that they're coming back with a lot of seniors. Creighton Prep, they have a lot of seniors on the team. And those seniors have kind of rose to the occasion and mixed well with their offense. And they've kind of adjusted saying, Coach, don't mind me, but I'm going to be taking these shots when I have the opportunity. If you guys saw the Metro Holiday Tournament, Creighton Prep against us, they had probably 7 or 8 threes in the game, and they were bodied up by a Millard West defender. I mean, that Creighton Prep team could not miss. And, for Millard West, I really think they've struggled on finding identity, like the girls' team, on who will be shooting the ball and who is willing to take those risky shot opportunities that could maybe pay off.
And I think, as a fan, the bright side is we've seen the potential for this team. They're not getting blown out.
Mm-hmm.
So watch for them, late in the year. They can make at least they can spoil some team seasons.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I see a state title in the run, but a state appearance isn't too far of a stretch for this team.
I mean, you'd be dumb to doubt what our seniors can do,
Mm-hmm.
but you definitely got to realize that playing against Creighton Prep, Millard South, Lincoln High, the three top teams in the state, it's going to be tough. Those three teams have been on the top of the food chain for the past. I mean, you count it. I mean, Millard South, we've had their number these past couple years, but this year, picking up Tyrell Carroll from Omaha North, that's big for them. And I don't know, those three teams look like a pretty solid top three, and that's kind of what we saw for football. And I think, this is what we're seeing for basketball. I mean, just a solid top three. You're definitely going to be seeing Creighton Prep maybe making that state title appearance. They've had one loss this season in the Metro tournament to, I believe, Central or Burke.
Yeah, Central.
Yeah.
Central.
Against Central, which you can't win them all. And for Creighton Prep, they've definitely found a groove in the offense. They've had a lot of players go through the system, working that offense, and a lot of seniors that have been working as sophomores and juniors to get up to that. So for Millard West, I guess really only time can tell on what these guys can do. It's pretty much game by game for those guys. And
Don't sleep on them just yet.
yeah. So yeah, again, there's a game tonight for the Wildcats against 1-9 Omaha North. The Wildcats are again 4-6. That game will be at 7:15, 7:30,
7:15.
7:15, I believe, and that will be me and Jaden Cover on the call. And folks, this has been the Wildcat Breakdown. You guys have any last thoughts about these two teams?
I think for the girls, stick to the rebuilding. I think that's what it is. I think start putting more trust into your players. Let them grow as they do. If I'm Coach Kruger, just let them show what they can do, whether they make mistakes or not. Live with it. For the boys, especially with the more senior leadership they have, trust what your seniors can do. This is their team. This is their legacy they're leaving, and I think that given the opportunity, guys like Guido and Schnurley and Austin Harris and Brock Burling, they're going to lead this team to a quality season.
One last thing I have to say for, I guess, both boys and girls is, especially for the seniors, is to just kind of sit back and have fun.
Yeah.
It's your last season, and it's high school sports, and it is a big deal for seniors at the time. And the only advice that I have is, even if your season isn't going well, just enjoy the time you got left, because you're going to wake up one morning and it's not going to be there. And I believe it's just moments like these where seniors just need to live in the moment and play in the now, and hopefully it all turns out well for them in the end.
Yeah, for sure. I really like that right there. And if I had to say anything, I'd say right now for both teams, they just, again, need to trust each other and trust the coaches, trust the fans, and just everyone get together and let's do this. That's really all I got to say. I mean, it's really all you can say. I mean, let's just hope these two teams come together at the right time and heat up for state, and hope Lauren Rungish and Courtney Merriweather can come back strong and finish this thing out right. This is our last season, boys. This has been JD Wessel,
Jaden Cover,
Andrew Pfeiffer.
with the Wildcat Breakdown. We'll catch you guys later.